is set up, yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
What's fascinating to me is the defense of the NCAA. They have these convoluted defenses that they always use when they're facing this compensation issue. And what I was reading here and some of your reporting was the indication is the whole basis of not allowing athletes to benefit from their likenesses and names financially is that it would create an unfair competitive advantage. Not that it's immoral, to not compensate football players who are playing a life-endangering sport, none of whom have guaranteed health care in writing, having hundreds of millions of dollars essentially stolen from them. That's not the issue. It's that the University of Alabama, well, they'll be at an unfair disadvantage. Is that the correct read on some of their justification for pushing back on it?
That's some of it, but I mean, I do think that there is this sense within the NCAA, at least again, the prevailing issue for them is that in their mind, sport, athletes, college sports ought to be amateur as the NCAA defines amateur, and NCAA feels that it is entitled to the latitude to make that determination. They argue that legally they should be allowed to make that determination, that it shouldn't be imposed upon them by the courts or by anyone else. And their argument in the specific instance here has to do with, ironically, actually, if you think about it, that it's a violation of the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, that the prospect of a California law making this determination runs counter to what the Constitution says, which is that only Congress can make laws having to do with how interstate commerce works. So, I think it's sort of interesting that they would go that route. I mean, there are other potential legal arguments that can be made as well against it, but it's not. But again, the basic issue for the NCAA is that it ought to be amateur sport as they define it.